While the music was playing, these entities were coming out from the speaker box and entering onto the dance floor. And when they entered onto the dance floor, I could see them. Hello and welcome once again to God's Anointed Cafe. I am Aisha, a servant of God, and I'm here to serve you God's spiritual food according to His Word. Let's see what today's Bible trivia question is. What was the first of the 10 plagues of Egypt? So today I'm going to talk about the nightclub dancehall settings. And being a young person, a lot of persons would have probably ventured out into that type of club settings because you want to enjoy yourself, you want to have a good time with friends and whatnot. So you would find yourself going out into these places. But today I want to share with you looking at the dancehall nightclub settings from a different perspective. So I want to go through the entire process, the process of going to the nightclub and looking at it from a spiritual perspective. Now, the the plan to go out to the nightclub usually starts with a group of friends who would initiate to go out and have a good time, right? And more than likely, this group of friends would be persons who I would say are ungodly because they are not close to God and they are not, doing things in obedience to God and whatnot. So you might not have noticed that these persons, because you yourself would also be out of line with God. So these persons would usually not be aligned with God. So the group of friends, the influence to go out online would usually stem from a group of people or persons who are not in alignment with God. So the other part of going into the nightclub, you have to get dressed. So of course, getting dressed as a woman, you would probably dress in a certain type of way. But knowingly or unknowingly, you would actually be drawing certain attention to yourself by way of conduct of how you dress. So whether or not you know, the way that you dress would attract a certain type of energy or a certain type of thing to you. So usually the woman, I'm not saying that every woman that dressed to go to the nightclub would dress this type of way, but the majority of women, they do not dress modestly to go to these type of events. So the way you dress is another thing that we should look at. Now, when you get to the nightclub, you would see persons probably hanging around the outside of the nightclub. They would be probably hanging around smoking. They would already probably started drinking and whatnot. Now, one thing about the dance hall that you should pay specific attention to is the timing in which you get to the nightclub. So, of course, most nightclubs it probably would be open at an earlier time, but the time that you get there would be at least, let's say, around 9, 10, 11, 12 in the night, or maybe later, depending on the time that you want to actually get there. So the nightclub is based in basically the dark hours, the wee hours of the morning. And of course, within that timing, there is a lot of dark things that come out in the darkness that come out, and you might not even be aware that in these hours there's a lot of dark things happening. There's a lot of witchcraft, there's a lot of demonic activity happening in the wee hours of the night. So the timing and all you must pay attention to. So when you get to the dance hall, the first thing you would be, alerted to or become aware of is the music. So of course, while you enter in the dance floor, you'll be hearing the music played, and more than likely the music is not anything godly or anything of the kingdom of God. You're not going to hear gospel played at the entrance of the dance floor or the nightclub. You're going to hear music that is more secular music, secular or worldly music. So if that's another thing you need to pay attention to, is that, the music that is being played. So as you go into the dance floor now, you would see that the space itself is a setting in darkness. So the dance floor is never a place where there's bright lights. The place is always darkened. And you cannot tell, you can't really see the faces of people there. You can't see exactly what's taking place on the dance floor because the place is in a state of semi-darkness or even darkened in some places. Some areas of the dance floor, it's totally dark. So when you get there now, the first thing you might do is, hang out a bit, and then you want to engage probably in the drinking, alcohol drinking, because there's nothing else that you probably could engage in on the dance floor. So the first thing usually is drinking. So you would actually ask a friend, you want something to drink, or they would ask you if you want something to drink. So when you begin to drink, naturally you become intoxicated. It depends on how much control you may have with your alcohol intake. But the main aim, mostly by the end of the night, is that you become drunk in a drunken state. So when you are there, the music is playing. Of course, it's not godly music again. So it's secular music, and you would be dancing and moving probably in a certain type of way. You dance, you engage with other persons. You might be seeing things happening on the dance floor that is not, of course, godly. And you because you are there, you become a part of what is taking place in this place. So there probably is drugs intake of drugs happening. There's probably alcohol intake, drunkenness, lusting, all these types of things which are ungodly. So why I want to draw the attention in that specific way is because I want to share with you something that happened, something that I experienced going onto the dance floor. Now, I was once living in sin. And of course, part of what I engaged in was going out to the nightclub or dance hall. On a weekend, I would get my friends and go out and have a good time. And it was at this point where God was changing my mind and my desire to be out there, and he started to remove certain persons who would influence the participation in these type of activities. So he started to slowly detach and break off certain friendships that I would be having in an order to slowly remove me from that setting. So that time I ended up going out there by myself. So when I got to the dance floor or nightclub, I bought myself, a beer. And, when that was finished, I bought another one. And slowly, I was getting a bit high, intoxicated. I do not think I left there drunk, but I did have a few, so I was slightly intoxicated. And while I was there, I was listening to the music, and I could hear a voice saying, "You don't belong here." And with that, I started to look around from a different perspective. It's like I just became aware of everything that was taking place on the dance floor. And I was just looking on at everyone dancing, partying, and doing what they were doing. And then it's like it became like I was seeing everything that they were doing was wrong. And I was like, starting to pray and say, God, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. Like, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. And I started to look at myself, and I started to realize that I really don't belong here, because the voice kept nagging in my head, you don't belong here. You don't belong here. And I could feel the intense conviction in my heart and the feeling of guilt being there. And that's what actually made me become more aware of the settings I was in. And for a moment, the music changed and the music became even more violent. And I looked across at the speaker box, and from the speaker box, I could, like, I don't know if it's my imagination, but I could see like these entities coming out from the speaker box while the music was playing. So the music had these entities. While the music was playing, these entities were coming out from the speaker box and entering onto the dance floor. And when they entered onto the dance floor, I could see them moving swiftly in between the persons on the dance floor, like they were going by the person's drinks, they would go by the persons and stand up by them, like they were basically influencing persons on the dance floor to act and behave and do certain things. And with that, all of a sudden, this song came up on this. The DJ started playing a different song, and the song now, it I don't know this, like, I don't know if the demons, the spirits entity, influence persons now to begin fighting on the dance floor. And all I could hear was the crashing song of these bottles all over the dance floor, and people were scampering out and screaming and shouting, and you would hear the sound of bottles crashing on the floor. It was all inside the bar. It was all over. And I wanted to move in that moment, and for some reason I could not move at all. It's like something had me held in place, and I don't know what it was. And I was trying to move because I could feel like, I'm thinking to myself, I need to move and I need to move, but something was keeping me directly holding it firmly in place, standing there. And I knew I was a bit intoxicated too. And for one moment, I could hear like this bottle coming, and it's like this bottle was coming in absolute slow motion, and I could hear the whooping song as was spinning coming, but for some reason this bottle was just coming in slow motion. I don't know how I was seeing it like that. Maybe it's the alcohol or what, but I was just seeing this bottle from the side of my eyes. I could see this bottle coming from the left side, coming towards me. And it was just mere centimeters that this bottle passed across my face, just a mere centimeters, a few centimeters in front of my face, and pitched and landed on the ground and broke. And with that, I just felt like something just pushed me out, because I can't remember coming out of the nightclub. But all I knew, I was out of the nightclub and standing on on the other side of the road, looking at this nightclub from across the road. And in my mind, I was like, you know what? I am not coming back to this place. I can't come back there, because of the fact that it was too close of an encounter to have experienced that bottle almost hitting me in my face, which could have probably landed me in the hospital, or even if the injury was so bad, I might have ended up, passing away or something, right? So that encounter awakened me, and just the mere fact that it passed this close, that I could have, I don't, and up to now I don't know what has happened, All I knew is that I ended up outside the nightclub, and that was it. I said, this is it. I really do not belong here. I don't belong here. I really don't belong here, because the voice kept telling me, you do not belong in this place. And I knew that that was the voice of God telling me, that I do not belong here. So I say all of this because from that experience, what I could understand is that in these settings, there's a lot of demonic influence in these places, and these places are set up in such a way that they entrap souls. Because firstly, the souls that the persons who attend or participate in these types of activities in the nightclubs or head out to the nightclubs, they are actually in darkness. They are in spiritual darkness, first to begin with, because they are in sin, right? Like I was in sin. And when you are in sin, you open doors for these demons to attack attack you, attach themselves to you, and even do worse. So being in these places, very dangerous. And a lot of the times, because you are in darkness, in that settings, in that dancehall nightclub settings, some of these demons, these spiritual entities, disguise themselves as humans. So you are not too sure if this person that you are seeing as a person may not actually be, in fact, a person that is in the dancehall, and there are many out there. So imagine the type of thing that you are opening yourself up to when you are in the dancehall settings. So the music is an influence, demonic influence. The fact that you are out there at 12 o'clock with these hours of darkness, a lot of things are happening. The influence of alcohol, sex, lust, you have sexual perversion, you have a lot of things happening there. When you get intoxicated, you open portals for these demons to enter into you or to trap you. The fact that you are engaging in this, it's easier for the enemy to trap your soul, because this settings and environment is directly in darkness, in a sinful environment, ungodly environment. So it's an open portal for demonic activity because of the ungodly activities in the environment. And because of that, because remember I said I saw these entities coming out from the music box, right? And normally these entities are happy to be there. They are happy when the souls are enticed to come in there, when the souls come in, because because they could easily trap you in there, and they could easily influence you. They could easily influence and instigate certain evil activities to happen, certain spiritual things to happen to you while you are on that dance or in that nightclub. And not only that, when you are in that setting and you leave, these entities sometimes follow you home. So if you are not covered by the blood of Jesus, these things can actually follow you home, because you have opened that doorway through the activities in these places. Because of the activities you engage in, sinful, ungodly activities that you engage in these places, these entities can actually follow you home, go home with you. So some of them leave and go with these persons back to their homes. And that's why you see sometimes when you leave these places, you end up having sleep paralysis. And sleep paralysis is not actually sleep paralysis, but it is demonic oppression, because these demons actually follow you home and, torment you, because you have given them access to you and your body and your soul. So you end up having them torment you, when you're trying to sleep. They do all sorts of things, torment you and prevent you from sleeping or harass you in the night. And sometimes persons end up having different mental illnesses, sicknesses, because you might leave, and spirit of the spirit of depression might follow you, spirit of anxiety. Some persons end up having, sicknesses and diseases because of sexual immorality, and they might end up with STDs. And also, you might also have strange illnesses coming upon you because you have attached yourself to different spirits from that environment, and you left with it because sometimes they attach themselves to you. And that's the main goal, to bring you into that setting so that you could be in sin and darkness, just as the environment is. And then when you are in that settings, they can trap you and take and go with and either go home with you and continue to be around you, or they trap you there. They trap your soul in that environment so that you will end up, you know, in hell because of your sins. And, you know, sometimes you might hear of persons leaving the dance hall or dance floor, and unfortunately, they never make it home. And that is because the spirits, their assignment is to kill, steal, and destroy. So naturally, having that assignment, some persons unfortunately never make it home. You hear that they either die in an accident or something strange happens to them before they could even reach home. So this is why it's so important that you are aware of the type of things that are happening in the dancehall settings, because you are actually putting your soul at risk. You are actually putting your soul at risk. So it's very, very important that you be aware. And as a person of God, you are not supposed to be in these type of settings, because in 2 Corinthians 6:17 and 18, it says, "Wherefore, come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and I will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty." So you see, when I was hearing that voice saying, "I do not belong here," it was God calling me out from that settings and saying, come out from among them. Come out from among that ungodly settings. Come out from among the ungodly persons. Now, I am not particularly, you know, condemning or judging anyone as calling them ungodly, because maybe they are not ready to come to God. But God is saying that for now, these persons are ungodly. This is an ungodly sentence. It's dangerous to your soul. It's a detriment to your soul in many ways spiritually. So God was saying, come out from among them and be separated. And that's maybe why he held on to me, so that I could be safe and I would not be, being violated, or any harm came to me when I was leaving. He held on to me. And then when the time was right, I was released. And then he separated me from that. And I was there looking on at the crowd, still trying to come out from that place. And I was like, no, I'm not. And I'm not going to be a part of that anymore. And touch not the unclean thing. He did not want me to be a part of that, because that's uncleanliness. Sin is unclean. Sin is an unclean thing. So he wanted me out from that setting, that ungodly, unclean settings. And he said that he will receive me. And he really did receive me. So this is not only for me. This is for persons who might have not understood what they were getting themselves into in these soul traps, these nightclub settings. They are set to lure persons into that type of settings of sin and ungodliness, so that the devil could have access to you and destroy and cause harm and destruction to your life. So if you did not know before, it's important that you be aware of what is happening spiritually in these type of settings and places, because it's very dangerous to your soul. So if you are somehow attached to this type of setting, because this is not something that you could detach from sometimes just like that, because sometimes you are looking for a space to deal with, probably you have a void within you and you're looking for somewhere to go to, ease your mind or ease your stress or find some sense of enjoyment or some type of, fun. But these type of places don't usually give you a long-term guarantee of fun. This is a short-term deception of fun. The true fun and true enjoyment comes from Jesus Christ. So this is why you need to turn to God and turn away from having yourself being in these places, because it is a dangerous soul trap. And you could lose your life, and not only your life, but your soul for all eternity. So I pray that whoever is struggling with continuing to go to these places, because as I say, it's not an easy thing to detach, because sometimes you become addicted to going to these places because, because of the feeling you get, short-term feeling. So I pray that God detaches you from this type of settings and environment, going to these places, and that you be more aware of what is taking place. And I pray that God gives you the joy and peace and love, or whatever it is that you're looking for outside there, going to these places, that when you receive Christ and God receives you, that everything that you're looking for is fulfilled, and that you be able to detach from these places forever and never ever want to go back to these places, because because just like God was telling me, I did not belong there. I believe that you do not belong there. As a child of God, you do not belong there. So I pray that all things work for you, that God brings you to a place of finding enjoyment and of fulfillment in Him, and not in going to these places that are demonic traps for souls. I pray that you be released from all the sinful, ungodly things that are happening in these places, and that you find true joy and fulfillment in Jesus Christ.
What was the first of the 10 plagues of Egypt? Water turned into blood.
So I thank you so much for viewing. Remember, guys, God is good. Jesus is Lord. Stay blessed. See you next time in God's Anointed Coffee.